What does your head game sound like? Like, what does your head game truly consist of? What do you say to yourself in those moments right before you know that you want to take action? What do you say to yourself quietly? Not those loud phrases, but what do you say to yourself quietly over and over and over and over again? We have to be intentional with it. And I'm excited to have you here because we're going to talk about things you need to stop saying to yourself because it's quietly destroying you. It's quietly destroying you and your ability to show up with confidence. Welcome back to With Karen D, the podcast, the place where we get real about one truth and one truth only. And it's that good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. So I want you to pause and ask yourself, are you going after what you want? Or are you expecting that all the good little things, the good natured things will in time have people come to you and offer and it will in time have people notice what you do in the world? Here's the thing. It may happen, but why leave it up to someone else to decide if you're enough or if you're worthy of something, a position, of doing something? Forget it. Good things do not come to those who wait. Stop waiting. And today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people just overlook, but it 100% shapes how confident you show up, how confidently you show up in different spaces. It shapes and it impacts how resilient you are in different situations. And the biggest thing is it really impacts and influences how you show up in the world, whether it's in social spaces, whether it's in personal spaces, in relationships, in the workplace, for those of you who are business owners with your clients. Here's what it is. It's your self-talk. And you have probably heard conversations about self-talk, but I want to give you a different spin on it because there's a lot of phrases that we use, and I want to talk about the why and how it impacts us and what we can do in place of that. So when I reference that self-talk, that's usually not loud. I'm not talking about those big speeches that you give yourself once in a while in your head. I'm talking about the small, casual phrases you say in your head every single day, the ones that they sound harmless, the ones that really feel normal. But here's the truth. Some of the phrases that we casually say to ourselves every single day are truly your self-esteem and confidence killers. And we don't even realize that we're saying them. And even if we do realize that we're saying them, we don't know what to do with them. And you don't really know what's actually happening. When we say those little casual phrases to ourselves every single day, when you wake up in the morning, as soon as you get out of bed, on your way to work, on your staircase down to your laptop if you work from home, you train your brain to hesitate. You train your brain to avoid action. You train your brain to compare yourself to other people. And that shrinks your ability to show up with strong self-confidence. And it happens and has happened and will continue to happen to most of us. But the reality is, when you know what to do about it, your whole life can change for the better. So today I want to touch on and really unpack 5 different phrases that and I include myself in this too, that we're quietly saying to ourselves that sabotage us. And we're going to also talk about what it does to our mindset because I know and I believe that it's important. And we're also going to talk about how to reset the language so it builds your ability to show up with confidence instead of breaking it down and eroding it altogether. Right? So let's get into this. Let's start with why what you say to yourself, why your language actually matters. It matters because your brain listens to you. And the words that you repeat become the lens that you see yourself through. Forget about other people right now. The words that you repeat become the lens that you see yourself through. So every phrase you say internally is literally a micro instruction to your brain. It's a micro playbook to your brain. And when you repeat something enough, you train your brain to start treating it as if it's the truth. So if your language says, I can't, if the language says, I'm behind, if the language says, I'm not that type of person, your brain starts organizing your behavior around those beliefs, right? Not because they're true, but because you keep reinforcing them over and over and over and over and over again in your head. And confidence is deeply connected to the story you tell yourself. The story you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. I'm going to say it again. Your self-confidence it's deeply connected to the story that you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of in this world, in this setting, in a specific situation. So I want to touch on 5 phrases that are quietly undermining that story that you're really powerful in this world and there's no one else like you out there. The first phrase is this. I'll tell you the phrase. I'm going to give you my story or tell you what happened with me. The first phrase is this. I should be further ahead by now. Sound familiar? This one is so common. You look at where you are in your career or your business or your life and you think, I should be further ahead by now. And it sounds reflective. It sounds like, I'm just having a look and want to reset my goals, so I need to look back. But it's actually destructive because what this phrase does is it anchors your focus on perceived failure and comparison, right? And I remember a time where I was telling myself that, and I was looking around at not even my peers, I was looking around at individuals who were keynote speakers and speaking about comparable topics to me. So for me, effective communication, confidence, peak performance. And I was watching them, this was years ago, I was watching them travel the world speaking. And in all honesty, and I think I want to be transparent with you, I used to watch them online and I used to watch their speech if it was on YouTube or on their website. And for some of them, not all, for some of them, I was saying, holy crap, they're good. But I know that I'm so much better and that I would just stick on to watching everything they did and everywhere they went. And it was destructive to me because the only thing I was saying was, I should be further along by now. And then my focus was centered on them instead of moving forwards. When we do that and we keep telling ourselves that story, it trains our brain to believe that number 1, we're late. Number 2, that we're behind, that we've somehow missed the window. And when our brain believes that we're behind, it doesn't move forward with confidence. It moves forward with pressure and self-judgment. And that's not what we want because that heaviness of pressure has us taking micro steps and 15 steps back. And that self-judgment is unnecessary because my friend, and even I have to say this to myself, I am not that speaker. I don't look like them. We don't speak the same. Our topics, while the bigger topic of communications was the same, we don't deliver the same. And my system and my methodology around becoming more comfortable and confident in your skin so you can speak at the drop of a dime was different than theirs. I had to let it go because the only person who was suffering was me. It wasn't them. They were doing their thing. I had to refocus on myself. And one of the things that I do that I ask you to consider doing as well is reset your language. So instead of saying, I should be further ahead and really being down on yourself, ask yourself this question. What am I learning right now that will move me forward? Or simply, what's my next step from where I am today? Let go of the comparison. There's never a comparison. You need to compare yourself with your yesterday and last week's self. That's the only race that you're in. It's a race against yourself. Confidence grows when you focus on movement, not comparison. So one step, is better than doom scrolling and judging yourself based on someone else that you don't even know online. Half a step is better than being in that frozen state because you've created a story that you should be further along. Let's move to phrase number 2. Have you ever said this to yourself? Everyone else has figured it out. Let's be honest. You jump on social media, no matter what that platform is for you, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, IG, Facebook, Pinterest. There's so many. I know I left some off. I don't care. You scroll on social media, you see someone else winning, and the thought pops into your head. Everyone else is doing so well. Everyone else has it figured out. But here's the truth. They don't. They don't. Who posts what's not working? Most people don't. They post their highlights, right? When we use that phrase, everyone else has figured it out, that phrase creates an illusion of competence around everyone else and a sense of you're inadequate. It feeds that comparison, right? And comparison quietly chips away at your ability to show up with confidence because you're starting to measure your behind the scenes against someone else's highlight reel. I'm going to repeat that again. You start to measure your behind the scenes, what's really happening against someone else's highlight reel, which we're not even sure that it's even true. Or that might be their highlight reel for the month or the year. And in truth, it doesn't matter. But that tool of measuring what it does to your mindset is what matters. What you want to start doing is resetting your language. Instead of saying everyone else has it figured out, I want you to try saying this. Everyone else is figuring it out in real time because that's the truth. Even the people that you admire, they are still learning, they are still adjusting, they are still trying, they are still testing, they are still failing, they are still really recalibrating what they've done and they're doing moving forwards. You just don't see it. So know that you're comparing yourself against something that for some and a lot of things we see online aren't even true. It's a purpose of content creation. You see, your self-confidence grows when you stop assuming that everyone else has the answers. And remember that progress is messy for everyone, including them and including you. And know that it's supposed to be. Progress is not a straight line. It has those chips in between, that zigzag. That's what progress and success truly looks like. Let's get to phrase number 3. I'm just not that type of person. Now, this phrase is subtle, but it's huge. It's powerful. You hear people say things like, I'm just not a confident person. I'm just not someone who speaks up. I'm just not the type of person who does that. And what you're doing when you say that is locking yourself into a fixed identity that you don't realize isn't even yours. You're telling yourself, this is who I am. So your brain stops even looking for ways to grow. It stops exploring possibilities for you because you have already labeled yourself. Here's the thing about labels. This is my opinion only, and I want you to consider this train of thought. You need to stop labeling yourselves because when you label yourself, it creates limitations. And let me give you an example. I have a client that I used to work with, and when I met them, they let me know that they were an introvert. I want to let you know straight out the bat, Karen, whatever we're going to do together with the coaching, I want you and I need you to know that I'm an introvert. And that means, and they start to lay a list down of all the things that they could not do because they were an introvert. And I listened to them download and I asked them to pause. And I said, you know what? Have you noticed that because you've labeled yourself an introvert, you found everything around you to support why you cannot do so many things? So they couldn't go to large gatherings. It was because they were introvert. They didn't like to go to social events or work events because they were an introvert. when they went to events like concerts or they're in the grocery store, crowds made them anxious because they were an introvert. And what I asked them to reconsider and reset was how they thought about themselves. And I asked them to let go of the label introvert and really explore, well, when you go in these spaces with a lot of people, what do you like about it? And forget, and I don't want you to repeat anything that you've told me before, anything that you've read online. I want you to let me know what happens, good and not so good, or good and bad. And what they shared was, okay, well, you know what? It's not that I hate large settings. I just don't like a lot of people around me. So I'm fine in them if I can control where I am. So if I can go to an event and instead of being in the middle of where everyone is, I'm fine being at the side, right? So when we had them really look at the facts of what happened to them in those large settings, whether it was a social or a personal or work setting, they were actually fine in large settings. They were intentional about what they wanted in large settings, which in truth meant they weren't an introvert. They have a preference. And I reminded them it's okay to have a preference and make a decision about how you show up in spaces. And that actually is an act of confidence. That has nothing to do with you being an introvert. So we have to be careful with how we label ourselves. So this person stopped using the term introvert and so many things opened up for them because now they could go into large spaces. They simply knew that when I go to large spaces, I do not want to be in the middle of the space. I'm fine speaking to 3 people's tops, and that was it. And that was fine. They declared and they decided what worked for them. So what shifted was they stopped saying no. And they started to put themselves out there because they knew how they wanted to operate in these big spaces. Instead of leaning into the limitation of being an introvert, where online you'll find a lot of information that tells you that introverts don't like big spaces. No, that may not be true for you. And it may be true for you, but I want you to be intentional about what you believe about yourself. And don't leave it in the hands of social media or online to tell you who you are in this world. Right? So remember, when you say that you're not this type of person, you are locking yourself into a fixed identity. Now, here's what you want to start doing instead. Instead of saying, I'm not that type of person, say something like this. I'm learning to become someone who does XYZ. That small shift moves you from a fixed identity to an evolving one. You in a growth mode. You now telling your mind, and this is where your behavior follows, that, in the past it didn't work and I didn't want it, but now I'm open to expanding. And confidence grows when you allow yourself to expand. The next phrase is this. I'll start when I feel more confident. This phrase keeps people stuck for years. They think I'll apply when I feel more confident. I'll speak up when I feel more confident. I'll start that business, that job, that project when I feel more confident. But here's the truth. And if you listen to any other of my podcasts, you'll know that this is what I preach because it's a fact. Confidence is not an emotion. Confidence is a skill set and an attitude that we can build at any given time if we decide to. You start to strengthen your confidence when you decide to. And as you take that action, your confidence builds as well. Waiting to feel confident is like waiting to get super fit and healthy before you go to the gym or drink more water each day. It does not work. You are wasting time trying to feel confident because you can't feel confident. It is a skill set. You show up with increased confidence. And what this phrase actually does to you is it trains your brain to delay action indefinitely because you're waiting for that feeling. You know what? I can't do it. I can't ask. I don't feel confident enough. Well, I can't apply because I don't feel confident enough. You do nothing. But here's how you can switch it. Here's how you can reset it. I want you to consider using this language. Instead of saying, I'll start it, I'll do it, I'll jump on it when I feel confident, tell yourself this. My confidence is a decision. I can show up with confidence at any time, and my confidence will grow when I take action as well. Action creates evidence, and evidence helps you strengthen your confidence, right? The next phrase. This one, if you are human and you breathe oxygen every day and you are on this earth, you have said this to yourself. I don't want to look stupid. This is one of the biggest silent blockers of growth. You don't ask the question because you don't want to look stupid. You don't try something new because you don't want to look stupid. You don't raise your hand because you don't want to look stupid. But what this phrase is really doing is prioritizing your self-perception over growth. You are choosing to stay comfortable rather than grow. You're choosing to stay comfortable rather than expand. Anytime you're in a phase of growth, I want you to know 100% of the time, it will feel uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable feeling does not mean, it's not a signal for you to stop. I want you to reset how you think about that uncomfortable feeling. And start with this. I want you to reset your language. And instead of saying, I don't want to look stupid, say this to yourself. Growth requires something new. Growth requires being new at something, and it's okay for it to feel uncomfortable. If I feel uncomfortable when doing something new, it means that I'm growing. Every single person out there that you admire has once started from ground zero. They've once been inexperienced. So know that it happens to everyone, no matter how successful someone is around you. Confidence grows when you allow yourself to be in progress, right? Now, here's the power of redirecting your language, or I like to say redirecting or resetting it. Like, let me give you a simple framework that can reset your thinking right now. You know, I'm all about systems and structures because it's easier for you to use when you stop listening to this podcast. And I call it the power redirect. When your mind starts asking things, what if this goes wrong? Your brain starts scanning for danger, but you can redirect it by asking this question. What if I'm capable of handling it? That question alone shifts your brain from fear to your true capacity and capability. Instead of imagining failure and things not working for you, your brain starts to imagine your ability to respond. I'll say it again. Ask yourself, what if I'm capable of handling it? And allow your brain to support you, right? Confidence is not believing nothing will go wrong. Got it? Confidence is not believing that nothing will go wrong. Confidence is believing you can handle what happens. Not you can win with what happens, you can handle it. And that's all that you need to do. So that's how simple it is. That's my power redirect method or blueprint. You're simply telling yourself and asking yourself, depending on the situation, what if I'm capable of handling it? And allow your brain to support you. Now, here's the challenge I'll leave you with today. I want you to really start to listen to how you talk to yourself. But I don't want you to judge it. I don't want you to say it's good or bad. I just want you to notice it. Because the words you repeat internally are truly shaping your confidence. It's truly shaping your confidence and influencing and impacting your confidence more than you realize. And small shifts in language create big shifts in self-belief. Remember, your brain is always listening. So give it language that builds you up instead of tearing you down or making you shrink. For those of you where this is the first time listening to my podcast or watching it, I welcome you. And I want to remind you that you are enough as is. And your worth and your confidence, your self-worth and your self-confidence should not be influenced by the numbers or zeros in your bank account. or lack of, or the negative sign, or the job that you have, don't have, or the test that you failed or passed. You get to decide how you show up in life because it's a choice. Don't wait for someone else to be your cheerleader. You have to be your own. If anything you heard today hit home, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. One, I want you to like this podcast, whether you're listening to it on Apple, Spotify, or watching on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up. Two, share a comment. Like, what did this do for you? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How do you manage it? Like, what are the phrases that you say to yourself that you realize that are really sabotaging your confidence? Put it down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe. I drop new episodes every single Tuesday. We will notify you if you're subscribed. Another thing, if you know someone who needs to listen to this, please send them the link. And my last ask of you is this. I have a whole bunch of episodes, and I want to tell you which one is my favorite. I believe it's episode number 13. I talk about boundaries and why other people around you are not responsible for your boundaries. The episode is a little bit edgy, but I want you to listen to it because people think about boundaries in the wrong way and they wonder why people don't respect their boundaries. And the reality is this, it's because you will not respect your own boundaries, nor will you enforce it. So I have a deep conversation about that. But of course, like on all my podcasts, I talk about what you can do about it to shift it or reset it. So you start to enforce your boundaries to ensure that people treat you how you want to be treated. Thank you for being here with me on With Karen D, the podcast. And remember this, good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. I will see you in the next episode.